Hey, Ali.
Hey, Andrew, how goes it?
Good. We're somewhere very special right now, aren't we?
Oh, so exciting. We are live. Well, we're pre-recorded, but we are at West End Live.
That's right. We are coming to you pre-recorded from West End Live, which is an amazing free event all weekend here in June in Trafalgar Square in London, where just crowds of people turn up. There's a big stage and just loads and loads of groups from musicals, big West End shows just come and perform all weekend. It's amazing.
Yeah, it really is. You can feel the love coming off the crowd and the heat. You know, you're just walking past it. I wish there was a heat map of musical theatre, and this would be glowing in the middle of London right now, wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I can't even. I'm not quite sure which act is on just now before us, but they sound amazing.
Yeah, the voices here, and I mean, just the costumes, all elements of theatre coming together and being celebrated in one place, like you say, for free. I mean, great event.
It's absolutely amazing. We're going to go on in a little bit.
Yeah.
We're going to perform. We don't know what. I'm gonna try and get some suggestions from a crowd of thousands of people and try and hear any of them. Which it's a slightly disconcerting thought.
You got this, Andrew. If there's one person who can lasso a crowd of 10,000 people, it's Andrew Pugsley.
Well, your faith is very kind. Whether I can hear any of them say anything is another matter, but we'll make up something.
For sure. Yeah, we'll have good fun. And I think when we get out there, there's just going to be all those beaming smiles looking back at us because, like I say, it's full of love for MT.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a home crowd. But we're here, recorded from West End Live, because we are introducing this week's Showstopper podcast, the podcast where we get amazing guests from the world of musical, theatre and improv and comedy, have a lovely chat and make up a song with them.
Yeah, and this person has done West End Live after West End Live because his CV is as long as my arm. No, it's as long as my head to my toes. It's just streaming with amazing credits.
And heaven knows, head to your toes, Ali, is a pretty intimidating distance, if I do say so.
I like to think of myself as a big character. As does the brilliant James Hume.
James Hume is absolutely amazing. He's done all of the big shows. He's been in Les Mis and Phantom. He's just done them all.
What a voice, what a person, just a real trooper and just a stalwart of musical theatre in London right now.
Now, we need to sort of get on stage, Ali, so we should cut this short.
We should get our showstopper shoes on and do some improvising.
Okay, let's have a look at the episode. Bye! Welcome, James Hume.
Hooray!
Hello.
Welcome, monsieur.
Hello.
Great to have you here.
Much. It's lovely to be here. Thank you very much.
Last time I saw you were, I saw you from a distance.
Oh, we haven't seen each other since.
We haven't, not since that day when my life changed forever and I saw James Hume as the Phantom of the Opera.
The one and only.
Which was truly incredible. I said to you afterwards, didn't I? I did feel like I turned a corner as a person. It was such a joyful experience.
Wow, thank you.
Especially that first time I saw you standing there in the mirror. It was really moving, mate. You were brilliant.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's probably the most terrifying moment because you have a half an hour wait before you're on, and then suddenly you have to stand in this mirror for the whole scene that's going on in front of you, knowing that, right, they've waited all this time, this character's been spoken about so much, and now you've got to deliver. Do you know what I mean? And now you've got to keep the ball in the air and keep the expectation high and things like that. So it's terrifying being in there, and it's really cramped. So when you're over 6 foot, it's it does a lot of damage.
Is it one of those things where you have to sort of look as though you've got great posture, but you're actually having to crunch yourself?
Exactly. You're literally stood on a step, so it's quite terrifying.
Wow.
Yeah. But also you know what the payoff is when you do it. You know that when those lights go on and that music starts. As I say, the audience have been waiting for this character to appear. So to know that you've suddenly got that power is amazing when the lights go on and you start singing. So yeah, it's a scary moment, but it's one of the best moments.
And for some of the people in the audience, it's not just the half hour before you appear, it's their whole lives.
Absolutely.
Some people have wanted to see this character in the flesh.
Yeah, it's iconic, absolutely iconic. It's one of those, I think, as performers you kind of put on your list, to if you can get to have that opportunity to play it. It's amazing because of all the history, because of the people that have played it before, and just the grandeur of the show. It's amazing. And to play the title role in anything is amazing.
That's quite a responsibility from what Ali just described. I didn't think of it that way, really. But yeah, you must be suddenly aware of it's more than just I'm in a musical doing a role. There's I know I'm the Phantom. People
Yes,
come
exactly.
to see the That's a big deal.
Yeah, and I think particularly with the show, with Michael Crawford having originated it and then other people have played it, you know that the majority of the audience is probably going to know the show really well, and some of them are going to probably know it better than you. Do you know what I mean? So you do certainly feel that pressure. And then it's also the classic thing of leading the company and trying to keep the bar high and just, as I say, leading the show. And it's just, because I'm the second cover, so I don't do it very often. So to also keep it in your head and keep it in your body and then kind of all the anxiety and the nerves that you have before because you don't do it all the time, to then suddenly go, right, I've got to get rid of all those and now lead the show. It does take its toll, yeah.
How do you do that? Because that's an interesting question. I've never been in that position.
Right.
Do you every sort of second day run through the whole thing in the bathroom in your head, or
kind of, yeah, and use any opportunity you have if you're not on stage to watch in the wings? I'm a great believer of that. That's a great, because it's not just, particularly with the Phantom, it's such a technical part. It's not almost the singing and the acting of it is the easy bit. It's everything else that you've got to deal with the button pressing, the pyros, the costumes, the boats, the bridge, the chair, all these sorts of things that are so technical that those are the sort of things that are easy to forget. Yeah. So any opportunity I have to stand in the wings or watch from the front, the other guy doing it or the other cover doing it, it's using that time. It's basically just using as much time as you have, because you know that when you do it, it's probably going to be last minute or during a show, which has happened before.
So with that in mind, in your normal track that you do in the show, are there moments where, because of what you're normally doing, you actually can't watch the Phantom? So are there any sort of blank spots for you in terms of what you can observe? Yeah,
there's not many. Most of Act 2 I can watch, but Act 1 is pretty hard because we're all kind of running back, getting changed for other things and things like that. But that's, again, I mean, we do have rehearsals as well. So obviously we have understudy rehearsals and things like that. And being the second cover, I also got to watch the first cover rehearsals as well. So you do get given the time. But as you all know as well, it's very different to rehearsing to then suddenly doing it with full orchestra, full lights, full everything. Yeah. And I remember my first, well, I say I remember my first show. I don't remember the show itself, but I remember the feeling of, I've now got to do it. And as much work as you do or rehearsal as you do, there's nothing really that can prepare you for that first show feeling with a part like this, because, as I say, it goes back to what we said before about the responsibility, the title role, the pressure of it. It's a big responsibility and it's a massive thing, but it's also something to be really proud of as well, because
what are the sort of 2 or 3 iconic moments you feel for the Phantom character?
I would say probably the journey in the boat.
Oh yes, of course.
Is coming out for that.
I'm glad you said it.
Yeah.
In art, for us, we often get Phantom called.
And
we try to honour not just pastiche. We try to honour a call as well. But I'll have to say, we used to have trolleys, would nearly always do a boat gag in the background.
Absolutely.
And it always gets a reaction.
Yeah, exactly.
It's almost like a box you can't, like Les Mis, someone has to wave a flag at one point.
Absolutely.
It always gets ticked.
Absolutely.
And the other moments?
Certainly that moment for me, probably the end of the show, the very end where he disappears into the chair. Yeah. Because it's a little bit like, keep the secrets, all that sort of thing.
Yes.
To know how that works is a really satisfying feeling.
Yes.
And also when it goes well, because it cannot sometimes, when you've done all that show and you get the chair right, it's just a personal fist bump. But also that the audience are amazed by it. And every single time when you do it and you disappear, when you hear the reactions, you do hear people audibly gasp or say, "Where's he gone?" or whatever, that sort of thing. It's just an amazing payoff.
Must be.
The cherry on the cake of the run.
Absolutely.
That's
and
great.
I think probably the last one is the start of Music of the Night, because everything kind of stops. You've done the journey to the lair, you've done the kind of first more dramatic bit, and then you are given a moment to stop and breathe and collect yourself and to just hold that pause before you start one of the most iconic songs in musical theatre is just extraordinary. And what I try to create and what I try to achieve is that sort of pin drop moment where, the audience have just seen this amazing spectacle of the boat journey and the chandelier and everything else. And now we're just going to have a moment of, now we've arrived. Here's the song that made this show famous, arguably.
If I may say, I could have had a pin drop at that moment.
Oh, good.
It was the focus in your performance in that particular moment. You could really feel it emanating from you. It filled the theatre.
Yeah, and it's a mixture of wanting wanting to have the power and the presence of the number, but also it's a moment for the performer to be like, okay, here we go then. Here it comes, the 11 o'clock number, and it's kind of the first thing you do. But it's also, because I've been fortunate enough to be in Les Mis as well, and I had the same experience there. It's also that weird feeling of, that the majority of the audience know this song really well. So you've got to nail it. I mean, you've got to do it well. And that's another responsibility you have, is to upkeep the love that people have for the show, because the support it has is extraordinary. We're a custodian of that, so you've got to respect it enough to...
Hearing you describe it really hits it home to me. This is like, that's an Everest.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's bang.
Yes.
And the iconic moments you've described, I mean, it's really well constructed to show off this role, this character. That what an extraordinary position, privilege, honor, and responsibility to have all that focused on you as a performer.
Yeah.
That's got to be a moment in the dressing room when you look in the mirror and you go, deep breath in.
It pretty much is
adrenaline up.
The terror of it as well. Yeah. I mean, the adrenaline, I've not known anything like it for that part. Because also you're sat in a makeup chair for an hour and a half as well before the show to get the face and the mask on. You can't move. So you are alone with your thoughts, And the mind is an amazing thing, that it can play tricks on you. Do you know what I mean? And things like that. And it can start to, really pump you up and get going. And then you have to wait for about 25 minutes. Then you're in the mirror, and then once you're in the mirror, you go. Like it's your show.
So after that, making up a song with us is going to seem pretty easy.
Yeah. Well, I hope so. But it's I've never known adrenaline like it. It's really, really extraordinary. And to get to the end, and to walk out and have the final bow and things like that it's exhausting. And I really respect the people that do it 8 times a week, because it's a massive part. Although the stage time isn't much, the responsibility you have is extraordinary, absolutely extraordinary.
And what's your typical track when you're not on as cover?
Monsieur Rayet, who's the opera director repetiteur, and then I cover Monsieur Andre and the Phantom as well. So I'm quite busy in the show. I played Philp at one point as well, and various other characters in the opera house. But I
have to say, busy. Some of those bits are my favourite bits in the score. I love the dear Andre, what a charming gala. All of that little kind of Gilbert and Sullivan kind of pastiche stuff is
so period. It's so that style, And it's such. I always like to think of Phantom of the Opera as like a really luxurious curtain. It's kind of got this beautiful kind of flowing class to it, and certainly with the Andre and Fearman characters, you get that definitely. And what's lovely for me, and I'm very fortunate to cover both parts, is that they couldn't be more different. I think probably Monsieur Andre is more like me as a person, but I'd like to think.
I was going to say it feels like the Phantom is full of so much power and grandeur, and knowing you as I do, you're such a gentle sort of fun soul.
What are you going to say there? Knowing you, the weakling that you are.
Slightly camp.
You're a very powerful presence, but what I mean Andre is much more in line with who you are.
Absolutely.
Especially having seen you do your amazing cabarets and your Edinburgh show and all of those things where your performance is so tickly and so fun. So it's quite a different energy.
And to have the opportunity to do that and to practice that is amazing. So because when I think the Phantom understudy was never really something I thought I'd be able to do. And when the opportunity arose, it was that sort of thing, well, I'll give it a go, I'll see if I can get it. And then they offered it to me, and I was quite surprised, actually, because I am more kind of inclined to do the Andre, the sort of more fun, sort of comic characters. But I'd previously understudied Javert at Les Mis, and I think that had possibly opened a door to me of darker characters and sort of grittier characters that I thought, well, actually, maybe I can go down that route as well. But as I say, the Andre for me comes quite easily, and also you get a lot of sort of free comic reign with him as well. So not to send it up too much, but to know that that's one of their purposes is to keep it light and keep it.
And you told me about your process when Monsieur Andre gets wound into the ballet it's all going wrong, and those brilliant jokes you tell, and how you could decorate that yourself a little.
Because as you guys know, to play someone else's gag is actually really difficult. And as an understudy, you've got to honour what the person who does it usually does, but it's very hard to complete carbon copy. So it's just finding the balance of absolutely honouring what the actor does, who does it all the time. But yeah, just finding your little moments of the James Hume version, rather than than just trying to be a robot too much. But that is a fine balance as well, because sometimes you can go too far the other way, and then it becomes a different performance, and it doesn't quite match with your opposite or anything like that. So yeah, but no, I do like to experiment a little bit.
I was just thinking, when you mentioned it, that you've done Javert. Of course, after Javert jumps into the Seine and disappears, obviously he ends up going down the sewers and becomes the Phantom.
Yeah, there you go.
It makes complete sense.
And it all
now.
makes sense. Yeah, exactly. Get through the ponytail.
Because he likes a bit of a song.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
should have called it Javert too.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. Keep the same eyeshadow and away.
Yeah, I feel much happier for him now. Oh, his character's not so sad.
No,
really.
yeah, exactly. And he lives under an opera house for the rest of his days. Yeah, exactly.
And did you play Javert with the old staging or with the new production?
I was the very last cast of the old staging.
Wow.
Yeah, I was the Bishop, and I was first cover Javert, and we closed the original production.
Yeah.
Which that night was probably the most sort of electric night I've ever had in the
bet,
theatre.
yeah.
Just because of, again, it goes back to, similar to Phantom, the history, the responsibility that we had. To know that the longest running musical was effectively coming to an end that night. And nobody just kind of saw it coming, really. It was quite a knee-jerk decision to change it. That it was just a very moving night, and the audience was full of ex-cast members and things like that. And it was just, we kept saying to each other, like, how do you close Les Mis? Do you know what I mean? And although it's come back now and it's great and it's doing really well, that first production inspired so many other theatre productions. To know that was, the Revolve and things like that wasn't going to be there anymore. Like, certainly when I was a student, that was the show that I went to see all the time to keep the inspiration going. To know that wasn't going to be there anymore, and to think of all the different casts that had done it, all the history of it, was just extraordinary. And how we got through that show, I don't know, because the audience was clapping everything. It was just screaming and shouting at everything. And I was playing the Bishop, and the Bishop has a very integral part in that show. One of the most iconic moments is the candlestick giving.
Yeah.
So and weirdly, he has a moment of complete silence before he sings his moment. And I just remember saying to myself, like, you've just got to do this. You've just got to get it out, use all your experience and professionalism, try not to get too emotional. And just hit that bottom note, whatever you do. And then you're kind of revolved off like a game show prize. But
cuddly toy.
Yeah, exactly. But I remember hitting that last note, giving him the candlesticks, getting a round of applause, which was unheard of as well. And just thinking that's the last time that version will ever be done. It was just extraordinary. Absolutely extraordinary.
Theatre history. And it's not just a family of Les Mis, is it? It is like a family tree now, really, because, like you say, of the generations.
Yeah.
So when you were younger, you said you'd go to watch it. So who did you see in those roles? Do you remember the actors that were part of the company?
I remember the first time I saw it, Sean Kingsley was Valjean.
Right.
Ramin Karimloo was Honduras. Joe Ample, I think, was Fantine. And then Stephen Tate, I think, was Thénardier. It's funny what you remember as well.
Yes,
Michael McCarthy was Javert, who did it for a long time, one of the best Javerts there was. And then over the time that I went to college and drama school and things like that, I would still go back and see it. And the John Owen Joneses, the old Carpenters, who I then both did it with, which was weird. Those sorts of people end up in Phantom as well. So you see you kind of get to know the same sort of names. And so then when you're working with them, I've just finished working with Earl, actually. He came back to play the Phantom for 6 weeks with us. It's that sort of strange thing where you go, I remember watching you as a 18-year-old student going like, oh, I hope one day I can at least get to get close to that, and to then be in warm-up sat next to them is quite weird feeling.
That's amazing.
It is quite a weird feeling, because they're the people that we look up to.
Yeah, absolutely.
And hope that we can emulate. So to then be in the same room with them is pretty amazing.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Have you ever got the chance to work with a hero film?
Yes, I have.
It was a very leading question because I know the answer to this.
Well, I've worked with a number of heroes, really. I worked with sort of two at the same time. I worked with Mel Gibson.
Oh, wow.
I was in a scene with Mel Gibson. I had no lines, but I did upstage him, and he got upset with me.
We'd expect nothing less.
And Zeffirelli, who was directing it, came and took me off. This is Zeffirelli's film version of Hamlet.
Yes.
I was in that. But funnily enough, my main hero in that was a fight director called Bill Hobbs, who is the doyen of sword play film choreographers at that time. And I knew him through fencing because I was a very keen fencer. And so as a result, because I was quite a good fencer, he got me some jobs, actually, fencing and driving a car, my 2 tips for actors.
There we are.
And so the best is that I met Glenn Close. She was playing Gertrude, and she was sitting by the side of the set whilst it was a long break doing something. And being a sort of pushy actor, I went and sat up next to her and said, "Hello, are you practicing your poisoning?" She was going to die. And she looked at me and I said, "Yeah, I am actually." I said, "Oh, so could you do different poisons?" She said, "Yeah, I think I could." I said, "All right, well, so what would you do for hemlock?" So she went, "Oh, I said, that's really good. What would you do for arsenic?" And she had a little fit and fell off the chair. She was just playing a game with me.
Fantastic.
Glenn Close.
Fantastic.
With me, someone she didn't know from Adam, some mouthy young actor with a stupid painful haircut. Was just and she just played this game for like 20 minutes with me.
That's so nice.
Yeah.
What a legend.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I love Glenn Close.
Oh, wasn't she amazing in Sunset Boulevard?
Oh, yeah. Iconic.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What a great role.
Yeah.
So if you could play an iconic role, I mean, you've played most of them.
He's
already done it,
He's
mate.
done them, yeah.
Let's not genderize it either.
Okay.
So any role, what would it be?
I've got 2, actually.
Okay.
Sweeney Todd
Oh,
Hello.
well, that's written for you.
and Miss Lovett.
Oh, yes!
Yeah. Honestly, I
Yeah.
think the 2 of them, amazing.
Are you suggesting you do them both?
Yes.
At the same
Anyone
time?
out there listening, if you fancy a sort of
You could do
Frankenstein
it
thing
like
going on.
Victor
Oh, yeah.
Victoria.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Victor Victoria on
Absolutely.
either side.
Yeah.
Or Mrs. Lovett could be a hand puppet and like
Yeah,
part
perfect.
of Sweeney's imagination.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
Or a
Yeah.
clever wig that's one way is Sweeney and the
Yeah.
other way it's Miss Lovett.
Yes.
Perfect. Ventriloquist dummy. We've got all sorts
Yeah.
of possibilities.
So many
But yeah, those 2, because I'm desperate to be in a Sondheim.
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
right.
So for me,
Manifest it.
Yeah, thank you. It's out there. But those 2 parts for me are just iconic.
Oh, yeah,
Absolutely
fabulous.
For a minute, after having done Javert and Phantom, I was hoping you would say, I'd really like to do second busker
Yeah.
in Carousel.
Yes.
A couple of little bits,
Yeah.
a couple of funny little lines, but
Yeah.
then he's off by Act 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A cup
Oh,
of tea
yeah.
in the dressing room.
Yeah.
What about you, Ali?
I think I'd love to do Audrey because I did it when I was a kid in Little
You'd be
Shop of
great,
Horrors.
Audrey. Perfect.
Perfect, Audrey.
Oh, thanks. I did it when I was a child, in community theatre, and I just loved it. She's so nuanced, isn't she? And so there are so many various different ways to approach it. It would be a real challenge. How about you, Phil?
Initially, I would just love to have been in West Side Story.
Right, yeah.
I grew up
Yeah.
watching that film,
Yeah.
and I just want to be a jet or a shark in West Side
Yes.
Story. Would have just been the thing. But my knees are gone, so I think I might not be able to do that. Less of a shark, more of a cod now. You don't see many of them. So I'm going to go for Professor Higgins.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh,
Classic.
you do that so
Yeah.
well,
Classic.
Phil.
Yeah.
Absolutely, the old Rex Harrison.
Yeah.
Speak singing.
Yes.
It seems to have gone out of fashion a bit. Well, how do you feel about you
Oh, I
teach
love it.
singing, James?
Yeah.
I mean, how do you feel about those different performance qualities?
I love it because I think it's actor-led, and I think for me, all singing should be actor-led. I think it's such an emotional practice that if you don't know where your head's at while you're doing it, you can have all the technique in the world, which will get you obviously places, but to have that extra element of, where the emotion is coming from, where the character's coming from, I think it just takes it to the next level. We've worked together. We work the same way. It's just finding where the emotion's coming from and why you're doing things and why you're singing certain parts and things like that. I just think it's certainly how I approach it as well.
Yeah.
I just think it makes it more accessible as well, for both performer and audience.
Yeah.
I think, and this is just my opinion, but I think sometimes when it's overly sung or overly vocalized too much and it's a bit show-offy, the audience can detach a little bit.
Yeah.
And it becomes a very impressive singing performance, which some people want, and that's fine. But to really get to the person underneath, you've got to have some sort of accessibility to it. It's something that I vocalized quite a lot about characters such as Javert and Phantom. You've got to make them accessible. I think there are some versions out there which are really impressive, but you can't connect to them on a human level.
Yeah.
And I think the success of these parts comes from people identify with them. In the Phantom's final lair scene, everyone in their life, in some way, has been a phantom, has been that rejected person, has felt isolated, has felt different. And that's how people connect to it on a human level. Now, that's, for me, what's what I go for, but I know there are some people out there who go for it on a vocal level, who will just go, here's the best sung version of this show you'll ever hear in your life. And some people, that's fine. People like that. But as I say, for me personally, to take it to a different level, it's finding the human behind it.
I've got I've got to agree with that. I think, as you say, very much actor-led. And I think that also applies when you think to something like Shakespeare.
Yeah.
When I feel like Judi Dench, although she is, her mastery of the meter and skin is so within her.
Yeah.
But it's all about, it's the truth of the character. I believe what she's saying, and then it's true.
Yeah.
And that makes it powerful.
Yeah.
Rather than a wonderful demonstration of technique.
And indeed, Judi Dench has been in a number of musicals and is, not famed for having the most technically amazing singing voice.
Exactly.
But she's amazing in musical theatre.
And some of the most famous musical theatre performers are not great singers. Do you know what I mean? But it's connecting, it's accessibility, and we all remember those performances that we see. It's not necessarily the best singers; it's the people that just move us.
Absolutely. Yeah. I've got a question for you with regard to those techniques. So, I know you do a lot of cabaret, don't you? You've got a very successful sort of sideline in East Grinstead, isn't it? The theatre you work at?
That's right. Well researched.
Push his glasses up nose.
Yeah.
And I'm interested to know, when you do cabaret work and you're doing amazing musical theatre songs, but they're out of context, where on that scale of a perfect singing performance through to an amazing acting performance do you feel it needs to sit when an audience have come to watch a musical theatre variety cabaret rather than the full story of The Phantom, for example?
Well, I think with cabaret, you get intimacy, which in these huge shows you can still create, but it's harder to just because you're in a bigger house. And I think certainly with my venue at East Grinstead, it's not my venue, but the venue I do the cabaret at, is that I can eyeball people. They can see the whites of the eyes, and I think through that you can just connect to people easier. That you don't need to sell the song as much, if that makes sense, and you can really, you don't have to project as much. You can take it right down if you want to. You can strip it back, because actually, again, something like Stars, for example, or Music of the Night, if I was to do show version in a cabaret, it would probably give people tinnitus. It would be just too much, and visually I think it would be too much. That I think something that I love that cabaret enables us to do is to just bring everything down to an intimate level where you can really hear the text, really see through the eyes of where the character is. But also if I want to take it out of context, I can as well. But just keeping it minimal and keeping it sort of more intimate. And as I say, And we use those, because I do it with different people all the time, but I kind of use those cabarets to also try new things out, new songs out, new work, things like that, and just see what the response is. Obviously, I think with that sort of audience, because I know that audience well now, they're expecting a kind of a classic edge to it. So we will do the Rodgers and Hammerstein, the My Fair Ladies, things like that. But if I can kind of slip in one or two slightly, more modern or new songs, it's good for me to try out different stuff as well. I
noticed on your CV you got Tick Tick Boom as an example, sort of worlds away from the legit.
Absolutely. Yeah, that came around. I was in Edinburgh, actually. And Guy Ritalik, who directed it, got in touch with me. And then it was at the Bridge House Theatre, which has since closed, but then reopened with a different owner. And I believe it's still thriving. The reason I did that was because I was a huge fan of Rent. I was a huge fan of Jonathan Larson. I didn't really know Tick Tick Boom at all because we did it before the film came out.
Yeah.
And I did see it as an opportunity to do a completely different style of musical. I had done a lot of legit stuff up till then, and I kind of wanted to see if I could. And I did find it really challenging. You saw it actually, didn't you?
Yes,
exactly. I did find it really challenging, but what I loved about it as well, because I was playing Michael, who's the best friend, also doubles up as sort of every other character as well.
Yeah.
So to have that variety, and something I always try and go after in my career is variety, to just kind of keep casting people or directors or whoever, keep them guessing. And not to be too traditional. Obviously it's, any work is great, but to just try and almost manipulate it into the next job is completely different to the last one is something I try and aim for. This was a kind of perfect example of that, where I thought, I'm not sure many people would expect me to do this, so let's do it. Do you know what I mean?
Great.
And I did have a good time. Yeah, I did find it a real challenge, but it's a great show, and actually I now prefer it to Rent, actually, because
me too.
And then the film that's just come out recently, I loved. I thought it was such a good version of it.
Wonderful, and Andrew Garfield in the lead role. Astonishing. I've long thought it's another one of these like underrated gems, really. The main track, 3090. I think
brilliant.
It's such a great song. Such a great song.
Yeah, I loved it. It was such a good time, and Rents is great as well, by the way. And I always think, like, I wonder what he would have made of the world, had he carried on. Such a sad thing that happened to him. But, you wonder what he would have made of COVID, Trump, all these other things, that what other work he could have come up with. Because he was just extraordinary.
Absolutely, because he passed away. It was like the opening night of Rent.
It was. Yeah.
So tragic.
In his flat, and it was. He's an amazing composer, and I think. Lin-Manuel Miranda is very popular at the moment and amazing, and he's kind of defined as bringing this new sort of style of writing. But actually, if you look at Jonathan Larson, he was kind of very similar, actually.
Yeah.
You go, actually, I don't know if he was the first person doing it.
Yeah, and we should note Lin-Manuel Miranda directed the movie of
exactly.
Tick, Tick, Boom.
Yeah, yeah. So
that's a great meeting of minds,
isn't it?
There's
a mutual
it?
respect there, because I think Jonathan Larson, is extraordinary.
Absolutely. And when you were younger, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Gosport, which is just outside Portsmouth in Hampshire.
What was that like for you growing up as an aspiring young performer?
I was very fortunate. Portsmouth has a really good amateur theatre scene. It has about 4 or 5 successful big companies that do a lot of plays, musicals, all that sort of thing. And once I got involved with that, I kind of immersed myself in it for about 3 or 4 years. So much so when I finished college, I took a year off. I took a gap year. But I didn't go and save turtles in wherever. I just did amateur theatre for the whole year, and I think I was rehearsing 4 or 5 things at the same time.
So great, you just put yourself in a rep company.
Basically,
That's great.
I was just doing all sorts of things, and they would do really obscure shows and plays, and it was my training, really. I put it down to that, and just working with, I miss it actually, but just working with people who purely do it for the love of it. I think it's so vital, those first experiences, that you're around supportive people where you can just try a thing out and there's no pressure on it, And I have to say, I didn't really want to leave because I was having such a good time.
Yeah.
But I knew that London was calling, so I took the step. But all of those societies are still going. I'm still in touch with all of them. They come and see me in the shows and things like that.
Would you like to shout some of them out?
Yes, I would. Humdrum Theatre Company,
Great.
CADS Theatre Company, Southdown Musical Society, the Portsmouth Players, Bench Theatre.
Oh, that's lovely. Gosh, you were
One-Off
busy, weren't you?
Yeah, there's so many out there. New Apollo, like this, it's got a really good scene down there. I'm trying to name all of them so I don't miss it. Fair Musical Society, you're all out there. I love you all. But it was really thriving. We had 4 or 5 theatres to play and things like that. And it was amazing, and it's all still going. Which is great.
Gosport was quite a services naval.
Yes,
isn't it?
Very much so. Yeah. And Gosport itself doesn't really have a theatre scene, although I believe they're trying to change that now. And I'm actually involved with a possible new studio theatre that's going to open there.
That's exciting.
Which is very exciting for the town. Hopefully it happens. But as I say, over the water at Portsmouth, it has a really thriving scene. And they've just done a production of Chitty at the King's in Southsea, which was an amateur production, but very much on a professional scale. And I think it's their most successful selling show of all time.
Wow.
King's, that beats Mamma Mia and things like that, And,
amazing.
And it's all community led,
Yeah,
and they
great.
produce their own panto every year, which is, an amazing thing. So it's just, So to grow up and also develop as a performer down there, and as many others have as well, working in London and things like that, it's just an amazing scene. Amazing.
And so from there, you went on to the Royal Academy. Is that correct?
Well, I went to Central first.
Oh, Central.
But I did a drama degree there. I didn't do a performance degree because I was still in the sort of amateur theatre world where I was just loving my life, that I wasn't sure if I wanted to take the step to be a proper, professional actor. So I kind of took a kind of sidestep and did an applied theatre degree at Central, which was amazing. Actually, it was 3 years of just learning about myself and about London and theatre. And I think what it's given me now is that I realise that the world doesn't revolve around the West End and commercial theatre. There's so much other stuff going on. There's community theatre, there's, outreach, there's things like that all around the world, which is, I think, to know that all of that work is going on grounds you even more as an actor, I think. So then after those 3 years, I then auditioned for the postgrad, because I was doing lots of cabarets on the side, because I always wanted to carry on singing. I did a postgrad at the Royal Academy, and that's how that kind of went on from there.
Yeah, great. And as you were saying about wanting each job to contrast one after another, you really have been doing that over the sort of last 5, 8, 10 years, haven't you?
Yeah.
Because you went to Edinburgh, as we do, with your show, If My Life Were Like a Musical.
I wish my life were like a musical.
I wish my life were like a musical. I do, every day.
Regularly. Yeah, which is going back this year, yeah. It's had a great, it was done at the Crazy Crocs before us, I believe, tried out in London, and then we took it to Edinburgh for the first time, and it's been to Edinburgh ever since. We did it with different casts, and it's still living. I think it's playing Wilton's music hall this year.
Great.
Like that. But yeah, no, that I'd never done Edinburgh Festival. I'd always heard about it. I've always wanted to go and see things. So when I left Les Mis, this opportunity came up, and I just thought it's an actor's law that you have to do Edinburgh at some point.
Yeah.
And this show sounded so much fun, and I could be up there for the whole month and things like that, and just see what the vibe was. We just had a great time. We were really fortunate.
I remember usually when I see friends sort of halfway or 3/4 of the way through Edinburgh, they've got that kind of, they can have that kind of tinge of, is it time to go home yet?
Yeah.
But when
Edinburgh stare.
The Edinburgh stare. But when I saw you 3 weeks into a 4-week run, you'd never looked so fresh.
No,
you were loving life.
I was.
You were seeing as much as you could see. You seemed so inspired.
Yeah, and because they sell it to you, and you kind of go, you're doing a show every day, no day off. And even that famous day off, we didn't have off.
Yes.
And I just thought, I don't know if I can do it. But then once you're in the swing of it, it flies, and you don't even realize. And to just be around such a supportive environment, it really just blew me away. Just seeing such great stuff, random stuff that you'd think you'd never see. And the audience, all the audience just having the best time of their life. So inspiring. And I can totally see why people go back year after year after year, like you guys. I can totally understand that, because it's amazing.
Did you make any sort of extraordinary discoveries up there? I used to love going to see some weird European things somewhere.
Yeah, like I went to see an Australian circus company do something. I can't remember what it was, but I just remember watching it going like, this is insane. And a guy from a Maori performer, he was amazing as well, on a guitar. Like, he was doing his one-man show. And then I remember seeing a play, and I was the only person in the audience. I was like, this is incredible. It was a great play, and it's just stuff like that. And then seeing other friends up there, and, seeing other shows and things like that. It's the best. Everyone should do it.
Yeah, it's like a big old party, isn't it? Of like-minded people.
Absolutely is. Yeah.
Being in Jonathan Larson's front room.
Exactly. Exactly.
In a minute, James, we're going to make up a song with you.
Oh, God.
I was about to say, what sort of emotion does that fill you with? And you said, oh, my God.
Yeah. Let's just jump in and see what happens. I live my life by that. So let's just see what happens. Yeah.
Yes.
Let's have a laugh.
Hurrah.
Fantastic. Well, let's do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
What would you like to sing about, James?
Let's do the opening of a new show.
Oh, fabulous.
Ooh, yeah. Lovely.
Oh, I love that, yeah.
It's here at last, the show we've all been waiting for. It's here! I've booked. Have you?
It's here and it's class, the show I have been waiting for, and I can't wait to see it. It's true.
There's nothing like opening night. The electricity in the air. There's nothing like opening night, and we are gonna be there. There's nothing like opening night. The electricity in the air. There's nothing like opening night, and we are gonna be there.
The stage is set, the seats are sold. It's that time of the year I just love.
The lights are on and they're sparkling bold, and I can't wait to see.
Can you hear the harp up in the theater bar? Tonight we're gonna go.
Tonight we're gonna go.
Tonight we're gonna
There's nothing like opening be there.
I wanna be there.
I wanna be there.
I have to be there.
I need to be there.
I will be there.
On opening night.
Woo! Fun.
Thank you, James Hume.
Pleasure. Absolute pleasure.
Is there anything you'd like to plug before we go?
No, just keep coming to see Phantom. We love you.
Would you just tell us where we can get those tickets for East Grinstead, maybe?
Oh, yes. So if you go to the Checkermead Theatre in East Grinstead website and look for West End Cabaret Club, it will be on there.
Woo, that was James Hume.
What a guy.
And we have just come up. We're still thick with sweat from coming off stage at West End Live. Ali, what was that like?
It was amazing. I felt like I was Jesus in Jesus Christ Superstar. It was just insane. So many people just loving what you're doing. What a buzz. What's the buzz? Tell me what's happening.
Ali is definitely stage high right now. It was so fun, wasn't it? And it turned out that I asked at the beginning, who is this musical going to be about? And they all pointed, like loads of people at the front of stage, all pointed to the camera guy who's filming for the live screens that are up behind us. And we made the musical about Pat, the camera guy. It was just so much fun, wasn't it?
It was so brilliant. And then there was another song dedicated to the interpreter because West End Live is such a brilliantly inclusive event. And we really celebrated that. And we actually did some BSL in our choreo.
Absolutely. Ali led some amazing BSL, and I tried my best to copy it, and probably said some quite insulting things in my attempt to copy Ali.
Yeah, well, we were on either sides of the stage, so it's a tough call for you because you had to do everything symmetrically. So well done.
Why, thank you. Oh, it's suddenly gone quiet because an act is finished. Oh no, they've not finished. So much fun here. It's such an atmosphere and just such a love of musical theatre. And we ended up with that wonderful chorus, Love Wins, as our end song, which just was so beautiful, I thought.
Yeah, and it was in the style of Wicked. Ruth just nailed it. We did some great movement. Yeah, really proud of our work today, Andrew.
Yeah, as you should be. Me too. If you've enjoyed this podcast, you can follow us on all of the socials and come and see us at the Cambridge Theatre in the West End. We're there like every month or 2 weeks, or a series of dates that are more easy for you to look up online than it is for me to give you a list of them right now. The last show we did was set aboard the ISS. Ali, James and Andrew Pugsy, specialist subjects.
Oh yeah, we love it when something's set in space. We have a little eye moment in the wings where our eyes meet because basically we've both always wanted to be in Star Trek.
Absolutely. But who knows where it'll be next time. Come and have a look.
And you've got to see it in that Matilda Theatre. We're at the Cambridge Theatre and it just looks so fabulous on the set. So do come and check it out and have that new experience at the Cambridge Theatre. Join us there.
Absolutely. And we're also at the Edinburgh Festival once again this August, and tickets are on sale now. You can look at our website, showstopperthemusical.com, and buy tickets.
Buy your tickets. Also, we're touring the UK between those two things, so make sure that you check us out if we might be in a town near you.
Absolutely. Right, I'm spent.
I need some kind of cold drink.
Pub.
Pub.
You go to the pub too, if you enjoy going to the pub.
Maybe have a lemonade, no pressure.
All right, bye.
See ya.